back to Dicebreaker, or should I say Dungeonbreaker. Way! It is the return of our Dungeons and Dragons series. You may have noticed we're not in the same room. That's because we're playing over the internet, thanks to reasons. But never mind, we are still poised and ready to transport you to the world of Dungeons and Dragons, specifically Eberron, the Last War. Before we get into the continuing adventures of this band of misfits, I would like to ask the misfits to introduce themselves one by one, if they would be so kind. We can start with. Tell you what, we'll start with you, Mian, because you're already big on my screen.
Okay, I consider myself to be pretty big in terms of presence. So I'll roll with that. Yes, I'm Alex. I play a character called Tim the Goblin. He is a little druid, and he's very excited about everything that's going on. So, yeah, there you go.
Excellent. Next! Doesn't matter who.
Matt,
Okay.
no.
I really like it when you say "doesn't matter who" on the internet when everyone's too scared to talk over each other.
Okay, I will. From now on, I will nominate people. I nominate you, Wheels.
Hello, I'm Michael Whelan from the Dicebreaker video team, and today I will be playing Matthew, Fizz the Kenku Wizard.
Don't you dare play me.
I am as I said, a wizard who is addicted to potions and is generally a bit of a knob.
I mean, he's admitted it.
Your words, not mine. We may as well carry on and hear from Matthew, since he was so recently mentioned.
Matthew, I am Matt
Sorry.
Jarvis. Either that or I'm in trouble with Johnny and I didn't realise it.
Mea culpa.
I am Matt Jarvis. I'm the editor-in-chief of Dicebreaker, and I am playing Morbos Gloombringer, the cleric tiefling who is basically just out to prove that he is more evil than everyone, and is just kind of, tagging along with this bunch of weaklings and riffraff, just in the hope of getting some kicks.
Excellent.
Some sick kicks.
Sarah, you're up.
Boy.
Hi there, I'm Sarah from Dicebreaker, and I will be playing Eric, who is rather rich, quite drunk, and mostly full of hate.
He's got lots of money, I believe.
And hate.
What a Tinder profile.
That was absolutely incredible. And last but not least...
It's me! Hi. Hi, I'm the other Alex Sloleys, and I will be playing Mist on the Mountain, or Mist for short. I am a Tabaxi bard, and I'm really stupid, but lovely, and misunderstood.
Aww, that was the most self-deprecating intro I think I've ever heard. So, as I say, last time you may remember, our plucky band of adventurers were hired to retrieve a prize dinosaur from an arena owned by a man named Algernon. They went on this quest, met some other people, and very reluctantly agreed that in fact they would return to the arena and set all of the dinosaurs free. In doing so, they bundled Al into a troglodyte pen, murdering him. And then,
who would do such a thing?
I know, it's unthinkable. They stole all his riches and indeed the deed to the arena. And that is where we begin. It has been 4 days since the events of the adventure we now know as Dino Score, and you have basically been living the life of Riley. You've settled in to the arena after a job well done. You feel Morbos has put Jeffrey in charge of running the day-to-day of the arena. He is resigned to his new duties / his new name. And generally speaking, you have been availing yourselves of the stores in the arena. You've been sort of just hanging out in the courtyard where you all first met, and indeed first met Al, and sort of just kicking back, relaxing, all cool, and occasionally sort of just getting hammered, I guess. I don't really know.
Shooting people out the back of the arena.
Damn it, he got the reference. So, I mean, set the scene for me. Everyone's sort of chilling out in the courtyard. What are you all doing?
I'm asleep. I'm napping in the sun. I'm assuming there's sun.
Yes, yeah, you're in sort of an atrium. It's sort of an open air courtyard.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm like perched on a branch somewhere, reading some book.
How the tables have turned.
I feel like Morboss is probably making a list of things that he's defeated, things that he wants to defeat, and then just a kind of unlabeled third column of things that are very clearly too powerful to defeat, but he doesn't want to admit that on paper in case there's a record.
Make sure you check it twice, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And Eric, what's Eric up to?
Eric is, I think, having a drink. He's got a mage hand that has another drink, which he's holding, and he's looking more ostentatious than previously. He's clearly bought quite a lot of trinkets and just general items of shininess and goodness.
Incredible.
And,
We're not in the same room, so I can't throw coins at you, but sorry, absolutely have inspiration for mage hand holding another drink. It's not double parking if you're doing it with magic. Exactly. Okay, so yeah, you're all sort of chilling out and relaxing on various chaiselongs. You've not cleared away the one that was dissolved by acid, which is frankly a bit weird, but okay.
In fairness, it was stuck to the ground, so...
It's just more ergonomic, if anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that. By the way, I'm gonna say that Tim he's sat on the floor. He's got the little dinosaur model he took from the arena model in Al's office, and he's made a very small version of himself using like a little turnip, and he's drawn a little face on it. And he's like reenacting scenes from their daring rescue with the dinosaur on the horse. Yeah.
You can have inspiration for that because that weirdly made me quite emotional. Okay, fine. In fact, yeah, Tim is kind of like moving the little turnip Tim the Goblin around and sort of muttering, "Oh my goodness," to himself. When all of a sudden, Tim, you notice that the dinosaur model starts moving of its own volition. It's almost like it's vibrating ever so slightly. And the vibration seems to be getting stronger, and as they get stronger, the dinosaur sort of starts to move across the floor. And the rest of you sort of start noticing, the wine in your cups, plural, Eric, starts to sort of ripple on the surface. Mist, you're woken from your nap. Fizz, you suddenly have to hold on to your branch. You sort of almost drop your book as you try and sort of stay there. A line of Morboss's list is kind of like spoiled as the quill goes dancing off. And there is just a tremendous cacophony coming from the center of the arena, like the arena floor. Do you want to go have a look?
Yeah, go on.
Tim says, "Oh my god, look! It's a real dinosaur now."
Okay, so it's up to you whether or not you stop to humour Tim, but everyone sort of eventually makes their way out into the middle of the arena, where an absolutely enormous Zeppelin is descending slowly into the arena floor. It takes up the sort of the balloon of this thing, takes up most of the negative space carved by the seats of the arena. And there's this massive gondolier underneath it with sort of like a big cabin and a couple of what look like harpoon guns on the front. And it starts to sort of lower itself down. And then a rope is tossed out of a window, like very shortly after, followed by a woman who is wearing sort of like khaki trousers with braces and a white shirt with no collar. That's kind of like it's sort of yellowing in the pits and around the collar itself. She's got goggles strapped to the top of her head. She's got a short sort of like asymmetric bob. She's sort of very lithe. Indeed, she sort of slides down the rope just without a care in the world and lands on the floor, strides forward and goes, "Ah! Where's Al then?"
Tim is like, He's almost hyperventilating.
Oh, yeah, you've probably never seen a Zeppelin before, have you?
Yeah, I didn't even know things could fly, apart from those, like, fluffy, feathery things.
And you as a fly.
Yeah, and as a fly, yeah.
I'm like on the floor under the rope, like playing with the
rope. She's sort of standing there rakishly.
Yeah. You obviously haven't been here for a little while. Al's moved on, love.
He's moved on to over there and over there and over there.
Yeah.
And over there, yeah.
By which I mean he sold the joint to us.
Also, I think we were the only ones who were allowed to call him Al, actually. Sorry.
She sort of pauses and takes all of this in and goes, "Oh, it's like that, is it? What did you do? Feed him to Cisco?"
Not Cisco.
At this point, Tim falls to his knees and looks up at her and goes, "Angel from the heavens."
Oh, she sort of reaches down and picks you up like a toddler and sits you on her hip and goes, No, I'm just an adventurer. Okay.
Tim is like looking with love in his eyes.
She sort of dandles you a bit, sort of like tickles at your little nose. I mean, if he's he's sold the joint to you and he's moved on. We'll go with that. That's fine. Not really that bothered, to be honest. I forgot to do a voice for her. She was meant to sound more like this. I just had a little arrangement with old Al. He'd gas up my Zeppelin whenever I stopped by and I needed a top-up. And every 1 in 10 trips, I'd have to have dinner with him and reject his advances.
Sorry, what's your name?
Oh, sorry, how rude of me. She sort of moves Tim the Goblin to her other hip so she can stick out her hand.
Like a basket of washing on the other one.
She sticks out a hand and says, "Montebank, Amelia Montebank, at your service."
So we can call you Am.
Sure, why not? She shakes her hand, and she's like, shakes everyone's hand in turn, unless anyone wants to sort of reject her handshake for some unknown reason.
I think more was not a handshaker.
Okay, she holds it out and goes, "Well, never mind." Grabs Tim's little, like, grubby paw, gives it a little shake, and puts him down, gives him a little pat on the high knee. It's like, any chance I could score some gas anyway? Only, with the Adventurers Guild, on a bit of a jolly, thought I'd stop in, tell Al to get stuffed again, and leave with a balloon in, shipshape.
Why would we have gas?
Because there are gas tanks stored under the arena. Sometimes they would have aerial displays of mini Zeppelins having fights. It was all very exciting, lots of explosions, lots of people dying,
Fizz momentarily thinks back to all of the fun fire experiments he was having in the middle of the arena and starts sweating.
Is your Kenku all right? He looks. I didn't know birds could sweat.
Yeah, no, me neither. We've got the fuel then, if it's still there. I mean, we haven't been in the basement at all, so it's probably still there. What exactly are you up to on this adventure?
Oh, well, at this point, she kind of she looks over to the side of the arena and goes, and waves, and you see Jeffrey is standing there, holding, he's got a hose sort of over his shoulder with a big sort of metal connector, kind of like you see when ye olde fire trucks pull up to the township's fire hydrant. But yeah, he's sort of ready to gas up the balloon. He's just sort of waiting to see if this is what he's meant to be doing now he's got new bosses.
I'll give him a thumbs up.
Can I say that Jeffrey looks at me as the person that terrified the life out of him and christened him with a new name?
Yes, absolutely. Like he sort of hesitates when he sees the thumbs up from Fizz and then continues to look at Morboss.
Morboss rolls his eyes, just a kind of a go on then. And Morboss rolls his eyes with such vigor that you can tell it across such a vast distance.
He scampers over to the balloon and starts filling it up. Sorry, what was the question? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, very simple, really. I'm going to rob the Cathedral of the Silver Flame.
Oh, cool. Who are they?
You actually would know this, and at this point you are starting to wonder if Amelia Montebank isn't a few slices short of a golden melon, because there is one of the nations on this continent is called Thrain, which is a theocracy. Thrain, from where you are, is over to the east. Let me just pull up the map for my own reference. You are in the Eldine Reaches, of course. Everyone remembers you've been in Greenheart. Yeah. Thrain is sort of to the east-southeast. In fact, Flamekeep, which is the capital of Thrain, is directly east of Greenheart. And basically, the Church of the Silver Flame is in charge of all of Thrain. The head of the state is 11-year-old Jailer Daran, the divinely selected Keeper of the Flame. However, being 11 years old, he depends very heavily on the Church of the Silver Flame, particularly the Council of Cardinals, in order to perform the practical work of running the nation. So basically, big old country, being run by the Church of the Silver Flame. The Cathedral of the Silver Flame is their stronghold. It is in Flameheart. It is, as you might expect, extraordinarily well defended. And this charming woman from the Adventurers Guild, the Clifftop Adventurers Guild, I should say, she has introduced herself as such, is planning to rob it. So you may not have heard of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild, but you've definitely heard of the Cathedral of the Silver Flame and the clerics and paladins that guard it, and you think this is a daft idea.
Can I, obviously with my thievery background, can I just sort of like search the old memory banks for some kind of anyone who's tried to do this kind of thing before?
Absolutely, yeah. Make me a wisdom intelligence check, or if you got history or anything like that, then
I think they're both the same. Possible. Oh, that's an 8.
Okay. You don't know for sure. You're like, you think about it, you're like, have I ever heard of anyone trying this before? And you think, no, probably because they got obliterated before they got even within a country mile of the place. But you don't know for certain.
So you can hear Mist just kind of like off to the side a little bit. He's got like a little piece of paper and a pencil, and he started like writing something down. You can just kind of hear him muttering to himself, Amelia, Aurelia, quite a lovely woman. Amelia, Aurelia, you're gonna rob a church.
This is like clicking his fingers. Like,
yeah. He's like, I think I'm onto something here.
She starts sort of nodding her head, and it's like, is that a yes or?
I'm not even paying attention. I'm literally just like so engrossed in writing this song.
Wait, what was the question again?
It was very simple. On a jaunt to Thrain, gonna rob the Cathedral of the Silver Flame. Do you want to come?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
I want to come. Where are we going?
Morbos is like, anything to get away from these fools.
Oh, do you not all come as a sort of package deal?
Unfortunately.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I think Morbos might be a bit confused. So
we need fodder.
Oh, no. I'd never consider you to be fodder, more travelling companions. If you die, sure, but, you know.
Tin looks up at her and says, I'll go wherever you go, milady.
Meals will do just fine. Call me whatever. Amelia, Monty, Montebank, Meals. Not milady. Doesn't really. Yeah, that works as well. Just not milady. It doesn't really go with the whole swashbuckle thing, you know.
I'm already climbing the rope.
Okay, well he's up.
On that goddamn Zeppelin.
Fizz, can you not fly up?
Stop it!
She sort of
I don't know.
What's she going? Leans into Morbos. Touchy subject.
Oh, who cares? Do we have to go on that terrible thing? I mean, I obviously, you know, I don't mind, but do we have to? Can't we walk? Walking's it's much better. Think of all the stuff we can do along the way.
I mean, sure. I kind of thought we could wrap this whole thing up in an afternoon, maybe a day or two. But if you want to dedicate the next 5 years or so to heading over there on foot and infiltrating the largest, most heavily guarded place in all of Thrain, then be my guest.
Okay. Well, I'll.
No, I'm saying I'm up for it.
Okay, I'll get on the blasted balloon. Is the rope the only way? Do you have some kind of like rigid structure ladder?
Oh, sure. Hold on. She pulls out a little teeny tiny grappling hook about that long on a very thin cord, and she kind of throws it expertly, and it catches in a little ring, and she pulls, and a side of the sort of the gondolier comes away, and a little staircase kind of folds out.
It hits Fitz on the head on the way down.
Oh, sorry.
No, ow, it's fine. Still climbing, like desperately trying to get to the top.
He's resilient.
I like.
Right.
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say more boss ascends, shaking one thing at a time, but just trying to stay cool about it all.
Cool. Maybe a charisma performance check.
That's 10 plus 3 for charisma is 13.
You do it. You manage to look pretty regal. You sort of realise there's a terrifying first step, kind of like when you're stepping onto an escalator that isn't moving and you sort of expect to move. The balance feels a bit weird, and then you're like, oh, actually, I can sort of vibe with this, and you kind of it's a little bit like being tipsy. You just sort of like you manage to keep your centre of gravity constant, and you ascend quite regally up the staircase.
As soon as I'm at the top, I get away from the edge as fast as possible.
Okay. Montebank goes, well, I suppose there's no point waiting around. Let's test our mettle, shall we? She sort of looks at Eric imploringly, like. In fact, she does offer a hand in a kind of like. Hmm?
Yep, I sort of put the mage hand drink down for a moment. Then I'm like, then I bring it up, and I start coming up.
Outstanding.
Brilliant.
Tim's gonna try and push Cisco up the stairs.
Okay.
Come on.
Do you have animal handling?
I think I do.
Wow. Okay.
I have +2 in animal handling.
Oh yeah. But also it is. What's animal handling tied to? Sorry.
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
It's time for wisdom, yeah.
Yeah. So make me a wisdom animal handling check, please.
That is a 16.
Cisco's raring to go.
Yeah!
Cisco storms up. He's like, "Grr, grr, 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 grr."
Yeah.
Oh
Tim's
yeah.
gonna hold on to his tail.
Okay. Cisco, it should be said, kind of like when they released. Do you remember the Ballad of Free Willy? When they released the troubadour that had replaced the whale after the film's completion, how the troubadour missed the stage and kept coming back to the home of the actors. Does everyone remember that as a thing that happened?
Not at all.
Sorry.
Wow. Oh boy. Well,
I remember back in 1934, there was a play called Free Willy.
Fizz, what's your armor class?
400.
Oh, okay. Damn. I rolled 398. But basically, Cisco's sort of been popping back to the arena every now and then, sort of demanding to be fed. You've been, I think, Eric, you've been slowly weaning him off the drugged meat. Because you know better than anyone that going cold turkey on that stuff is... whew, it is not easily done.
Also more for you, right?
Also, yeah, more for Eric, which...
Well, it's just one for me, one for Cisco. One for me, not one for Cisco. Yeah.
Two for me.
Ooh, another for me. Yeah.
Just mage handing gobbets of drug meat into your mouth. Fine, no, Cisco with Tim the Goblin kind of holding onto the tail and bouncing up and down furiously, charges up onto the gondolier. It makes it rock quite alarmingly, which probably doesn't help Moorboss's nerves. But
All his stomach.
yeah, you are at least pleased to see that the Zeppelin you're travelling on is actually quite well appointed. Much of the space is taken up by a very large cabin, which sort of just resembles a social club. There is a large, very well-stocked bar. There are, you would estimate, 60 to 80 leather armchairs, all of them arranged in small groups so people can sort of sit around them and feel refined while drinking and sharing stories and enjoying the finer things in life. There are various fantastical mementos from across the land on the walls, including a couple of sort of taxidermied things that are there. There's sort of like a lillicap. Is that no ettercap? Sorry, it's like an ettercap head there. There's a shield which is festooned with cockatrice feathers. This place is cool, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And there's you think maybe slightly hubristically for a Zeppelin that's fueled by presumably flammable gas. It's quite a large fireplace in front of which Cisco is now curled, with Tim the Gobbo customarily in the sort of the nest in the middle of Cisco's belly.
I was going to say, actually, if there's a fireplace, I would curl beside it as well.
Yep, you can go over there. That is
so there's quite a lot of sort of cool trinkets and rare finds in this place, right?
Absolutely.
Are there any what look like magical spellbooks?
There is quite a well-appointed library. Why don't you make me an investigation check, please?
Alrighty.
That is loud.
16.
16. You know what? Yes, there is a tome on some arcane magics involving animating foodstuffs.
Does that mean I can add a spell?
Yeah.
As a wizard.
If you take the time to properly learn it, yes, I will.
Hell yeah.
I will give you the spell animate food.
All right.
Beauty and the Beast around here.
Yeah.
You can bring the parsnip to life. Tim the goblin parsnip.
Oh my god.
It's a
turnip.
Oh, turnip. Sorry.
How very
sorry.
dare
Yeah,
you?
no, sorry, yeah. I had no idea
Expand
what
the
you were talking
cast.
about until you said that.
Know your root vegetables slowly.
I'm not Lolies.
As they walk into this room full of taxidermy things, presumably there's something that's kind of mean looking, baring teeth. Moorboss is looking around and turns into it and jumps and goes, "Huh!" And then if anyone catches his eye, he's like, "Oh yes, I've killed a dozen of these," and just kind of carries on. But also knowing where he is in a large ball of gas, he extinguishes his tail or puts a little cap on the end because he's
Like a little
very
thimble.
afraid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the cigarette thing in a car that you don't get anymore, where you just kind of pop it in the thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like that. So at the end, he can just click it and get it back out again.
I can't remember if I already gave you inspiration, but you can absolutely have it for that, because that was beautiful. In fact, everyone, if you haven't already got inspiration, take inspiration, because I'm having a great time. Montebank, she actually sees you sort of looking at the beast and claiming you killed a dozen. She sort of goes, "A dozen? Impressive!" And she sort of claps her hand on the shoulder and goes, "Yeah, this was one of my first kills, actually. One of my first taxidermy jobs. So don't look too carefully at the stitching." And she sort of just like pump pats it on the side of the face and goes, "Right, if everyone is ready, we shall up and away." Sorry, bit of a stutter.
Please don't remind me of where we are. Just get on with it.
Is there any windows?
Yeah. There's like lots of big old windows with like brass railings that you can grip onto.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna like press my face right up against one and just like stare out, look down.
So are you repeatedly nose printing the glass?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Everyone else, basically, Emilio's like, help yourselves, drink there. I'll cook up some grub later, probably a fricassee of some kind. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, get comfy. We'll be off very shortly. Oh, and if you need anything, just yell into that trumpet. And you notice there's sort of like there's there are sort of two big brass trumpets on the wall, and a sign above each. One says in, one says out. So it's state-of-the-art communication system. Tubes, you yell into them, and then she sort of saunters off, closes the door behind her, and you hear like a ding ding as she apparently goes to the engine room and makes ready to depart.
Fizz walks up to the trumpet and just starts cawing loudly into it. Just
while you're doing that, can Morboss walk up to the Is the suggestion that it's like a continuous loop? So if I shout into the out, will it come back out the into Fizz?
No, you would. Oh, I see. Yes.
Okay. Morboss is going to use thaumaturgy and make my voice boom up to 3 times as loud.
Okay.
now, hold on, because it's like a telescope, right? So it will come out quieter.
It's going to come out as Tim the Goblin.
Yeah, go on. What are you yelling?
Birdman!
I'm very sorry, Wheels. Yeah, that works. It's incredibly loud. Fizz is fair blown halfway across the cabin. He sort of just about manages to keep his feet and puts a hand on the deck and sort of slides back in that sort of anime, like kicking up dust sort of way. In fact, like some smoke starts to curl up from the very fine Persian carpet that is on the floor of this cabin.
Looking very annoyed, Fizz storms back to the trumpet and uses his mimicry skill, which all Kankus have. Perfectly mimics every single inflection and intonation of Morboss's voice and says, "Hello, it's Morboss here. I'm very scared of flying, and I've done a little wee on myself."
I never said that. He just storms off.
I hear this and I'm like absolutely wetting myself because I think it's the funniest thing ever, and I genuinely think that Morboss actually made that announcement as well.
There is
way on this Zeppelin if this carries on.
There is a sort of a pregnant pause, and then you hear quite quietly through the trumpet just, yes, now we've established that the communication system's working, we'll be underway.
This is your captain speaking.
And indeed, you sort of you feel the ground beneath you. Give a very gentle, like, it's sort of a hiccup, really, as you start to take off into the air, and you see, if you have a care to look out the window, you see the arena sort of disappearing underneath you until it becomes as small looking as the scale model in the dearly departed Algernon's office. And then it gets smaller as you sort of rise up until you're practically touching the clouds over Green Hut, and then you sort of the whole room starts to thrum gently as unseen servos spin up and kind of slowly your view pans as the gondolier turns and the Zeppelin starts to head off in an easterly direction. It is just past midday. And frankly, the view is beautiful.
Fizz is wide-eyed and bushy-tailed at the view outside, and is looking directly down to the floor, like he really enjoys being that high up.
Aww.
Like flying. I want to like go up next to Fizz and be like, "Is this what it feels like to fly?"
He's got like a little tear in his eye, and he just sort of wipes it. He's like, yeah, probably, yeah, and then just sort of like storms off.
Wouldn't it be cool if we were flying?
I'm confused. Does Miss not realise we're in the air right now?
No.
You just hear very gently from the trumpet.
Tim has got his crayons out and he's drawing on the floor, and he's drawing a picture of Amelia and then a picture of him, and like they're holding hands.
That's too precious. What's Eric up to?
Eric is just sort of prancing about, kind of like occasionally sort of listlessly touching something, or sort of poking, having a few sort of spiteful guffaws at more bosses and Fizz's sort of little. It was like, yes, he is scared of flying. It's hilarious. Just sort of basically just being everyone's like hateful aunt, essentially.
I picture you making observations while also making a cocktail behind the bar. Like no.
Is the fireplace? Is it a brick construction, or is it just kind of a?
No, it's sort of like cast metal, I think.
Okay. Morboss is going to sit in the fireplace because it seems like the most structurally intact thing if the entire airship explodes.
Okay. Okay. I mean, you're fire resistant, so I guess the coals and everything. Yeah, you're fine. Morboss, everyone just watches Morboss sort of just quietly, without really saying anything, go and sit in a fire. And just sort of is like, yep.
I would like... Yeah, sorry.
Tim's going to say, I'd be careful with that. When I put my hand in the fire, do you remember what happened last time? When you burnt all my things.
Yes, and then he kind of corrects halfway through because actually he has some sympathy for this tiny green weakling, and just goes, I'm not sorry, but you got over it.
Okay. Right. Well, sort of. Amelia comes over the tannoy and sort of tells you that it's going to be probably about a 6-hour flight to the Cathedral of the Silver Flame. So everyone's sort of happy, like welcome to kick back and do whatever they like. Does anyone have any pressing business they want to attend to, or should we skip ahead a few hours?
I'd like to go to the trumpet thing and be like, Amelia, are you in there?
Sorry, how unprofessional of me.
It sort of depends on your definition of there, really, doesn't it? I'm around.
Can I come to where you are?
Yeah, sure. Don't follow the sound of my voice; you'll get stuck.
She just basically just reappears, nudges the door open. It's like, come on then.
I eagerly run in.
Cool. She leaves it open if anyone wants to come with. She sort of leads you down a corridor that basically it's a corridor that seems to run directly from the captain's, like the helm, to where the booze is. And along the way you see, like, the whole wall is lined with lovely sort of woodcut illustrations of Amelia on various adventures. There's one that's particularly yellowing of her when she was much younger. Still wearing the goggles, but they were at that point like huge on her head, holding hands with a man with a very great sort of beard and moustache and a stout chest. And then she leads you into the main what do you call it? Not the bridge, cockpit. Yeah, the
poop deck.
It is the cockpit. It's not the poop deck, Fizz.
Poop deck.
Isn't the poop deck on an airship just outside?
Yes.
Just a balloon.
Particularly if you're a bird.
It's the beautiful thing about flying. The whole world is your poop deck. Any road. She leads you into the cockpit and goes, yeah, well, here she is. This is where she's controlled from.
Who?
The Zeppelin.
Oh, it's a she.
Yeah. I mean, all Zeppelins are she's.
What's her name?
That's a very good question. And I will answer it, because I know.
In just 1 second.
She puts out... She sort of seems to get lost in herself for a second. She sort of reaches out and grabs hold of one of the spurs of the ship's wheel. And goes, this is the gallant platypus.
Oh.
Bit of a stupid name, probably, because platypi are, of course, flightless, but let's just say my old man had a sense of humour.
Morbus looks very nervous at this news, having heard you mention this through the door, and just kind of grips a kind of door archway.
Yeah, she's deliberately left the door open, by the way, so people can come and go as they please.
Tim is definitely getting up and waddling around now.
Okay.
Is it just you on the ship?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the crews come and go. They sort of, you know what, the adventuring life isn't for everyone, I think, and maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not especially pleasant company, but I've often been alone adventuring since my father passed. I just, you know, I figure over every horizon is a new adventure and new faces to meet, and why would I begrudge them for wanting to move on? You know, it's nice to have friends, but it's, you know, if you're keeping them back, then you're not being a very good friend, are you?
What did he pass?
Away.
Away where?
Well, into the jaws of a megalodon, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
He died.
Oh!
Yeah. She sort of like, excuse me 1 minute. I left something over there by the wall. She goes into the trumpet and just very quietly says,
Sorry, this is probably rude. Your tabaxi friend. Not great with idioms, is she?
No, yeah, she is an idiot.
Oh, all right, yeah. Thanks for that.
she comes back.
At this point, Tim has waddled into the room. And after hearing this, he looks at Amelia and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm here for you if you need me. I can provide emotional support."
She scoops you up and tosses you in the air and catches you again. And it's like, oh, don't worry. It was a long time ago. And, it's an occupational hazard. And she sort of, she has you right in front of her. It's like, occupational hazard. Don't worry. Would you like a go on the ship?
Oh, I do.
Okay. Well, there's room enough for everyone. She's like, she points at Mist. Mist, you get on the tiller. Just hold it steady. And I tell you what. Oh, we could probably go down a bit. Yeah, let's go down. Tim. And she sort of reaches up and is like, see the handle there. There's a handle just to. If you give that a little, then we'll descend a little bit. It will sort of let some of the gas out. Not too much, mind. So don't really yank it. But yeah, this is fine. You, by the way, are over Lake Galifar, which is an absolutely enormous lake. If you were to, like, you know how big Greenheart is? It's quite a sizable city. It is approximately 20 or 30 times the width of Greenheart. It is vast. It's so much so that currently you can't see land. So Tim, she's got you there. You're going to give the...
Yeah, Tim's so enthusiastic that he's going to, like, grab it and give it the hardest yank he can.
Okay, so you feel a click, and the handle sort of vibrates ever so slightly in your hands, as you feel the Zeppelin sort of letting go of some of its gases, and it starts to slowly descend. And she gives you a tickle on the belly. It's like, that'll do now. There we go. Are you letting go?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, cool. Like,
can Fizz notice the ship descending?
Yeah.
He mimics Amelia's voice and shouts, "More boss, look out, we're crashing!"
Morboss just absolutely... He was freaked out already when it first started to go. But I was like, oh my god, I'm going to die with these fools! And then as he kind of... Because I think he would have been able to see you, so he probably catches you finishing the end of this sentence
absolutely.
as he spins around wildly. And he's just like, Birdman, I'm going to pluck you to the bone! And just basically retreats back into the fire out of sight. And so does the fireplace have like a chimney to extract the smoke?
Yeah, it's got a flue.
So if he's able to stand up into the flue, he takes his tail and just with the hot ember, which could mark the kind of metal, because it would be white hot at the tip, he's just writing all sorts of terrible words about Fizz, basically just graffitiing the inside of this flue.
Got into the school bathroom to write.
Yeah, exactly, and he's not going to come out until he feels like he's had such an embarrassment on this flight that he feels like he's just going to stay there for the next 6 hours if he has to, so that everyone forgets.
You'll regret that, Birdman. Just wait till you read my bullet journal.
Yeah, because it's a chimney, you can just hear echoing out of it. He's like, I'm going to absolutely... I can't believe I was made such a fool of. My God, I've never been so embarrassed in my life.
Fizz, could you make me a wisdom perception check, please?
Yeah, of course. +4. That is an 11.
Okay, yeah, fine. So you are hearing Morboss muttering away, and you're like, like just having a good giggle, and then you detect there's another sound. It's not Morboss, and it's not the sort of the hiss of metal and meeting tail ember. It's sort of it's a weird, slightly distorted, like coming from. Well, it's coming down the chimney, so it's coming from the outside. You reckon?
Is it possible to go outside on this ship?
Yeah, there's you just have to push open the cabin doors, and like there's a whole deck that sort of goes around the cabin. Okay,
yeah, I'd like to walk out onto the deck and try and figure out where the noise is coming from.
Okie dokie. Yeah, that's fine. I think you just see it. You look around. You're like, you sort of head aft and look behind the Zeppelin, and you see sort of 3 dots moving towards you. They seem quite indistinct at first, and then as they get closer and you hear the noise kind of getting louder, the 3 dots each split into 4, and you sooner or later you're like, what the... And you see basically these are winged creatures. They are a set of wings, and they are a head, and they are nothing else. And all of the heads are screaming.
They're gonna try and kiss us!
Oh no!
And I think we shall roll initiative.
Will these green adventurers be able to overcome flying head monsters? Why exactly does Amelia want to rob a church? And will Morboss's emo poetry book ever come to market? Find out the answers to these questions next week in the next installment of Dungeonbreaker. And hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss a single episode.